Today's verse is 18. That's 17. Yesterday was 17. But that, it's there now. The magic of technology. So, we'll have a short kirtan. What verse was the Hindi class? First chapter, what verse? 21. So it was a different, they're not going together. I see. So, Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Balava Girivaradhari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivakacharya Sarasi Samad, His Divine Grace, Sri Lesa Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivakacharya Sarasi Samad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Guru Parampara Ki Jai. Srimad Gita Upanishad Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sadhu Sangha Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Go Premananda Hari Hari Bo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together, please. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganandana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stabitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Savetam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapcha Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhana Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Translation and commentary is Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Chapter 3, Karma Yoga, verse 18. Please repeat. Naiva tasya kritenartho na kriteneha kaschana na chasya sarvabhuteshu Kaschid ata papasraya naiva tasya kritanartho na krita neha kaschana na chasya sarvabhuteshu kaschid ata papasraya Naiva tasya kritanartho na krate neha kashchana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kashchid athava pashrayah. Okay, go ahead. Vaishnavis. Dasya kritanato na krite neha kashchana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kashchid athava pashrayah. Okay. All right. So please repeat word for word. Na. Never, eva, certainly, tasya, his, kritena, by discharge of duty, arthaha, purpose, na, nor, akritena, without discharge of duty, iha, in this world, kasyana, whatever, na, never, cha, and, asya, of him, sarvabhuteshu, among all living beings, kaschit, any, artha, purpose, vapashrayaha, taking shelter of. So, translation Srila Prabhupada. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. Please repeat. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. Purport Srila Prabhupada. A self-realized man is no longer obliged to perform any prescribed duty, save and except activities in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not inactivity either, as will be explained in the following verses. A Krishna conscious man does not take shelter of any person, man or demigod. Whatever he does in Krishna consciousness is sufficient in the discharge of his obligation. So, Prabhupada always pay attention to the last sentence. Whatever he does, that's the Krishna conscious man, in Krishna consciousness is sufficient in the discharge of his obligation. Mukam karochi vachalam pangam like tegrim yad kripa tamaham vande Sri Guru Nrinatarinam. Naiva tasya krita natho nak teneha kashtina, natchasya sarva bhuteshu kashchid artha bapashrayaha. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. So this sloka we have to see in context. And perhaps in this class we can also understand how to become a self-realized man, right? This is how the translation, Srila Prabhupada starts. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties. So the implication is that if you're not self-realized, you do have a purpose to fulfill. But that pure devotee, self-realized man, has no reason not to perform them. And you can see in the next sloka, yes, kings such as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating people in general, you should perform your work. So King Janaka, he's the father of Sita Devi. So such a great transcendental personality, but still, just as Krishna himself will say, that he is appearing in this world, dharma samstapanathaya. So the great self-realized souls, they will perform their duties apparently within the framework of varnashram, according to their qualities. Their work is prescribed, that is their duty, and it will be for the purpose of guiding people in the spiritual life. But ultimately, as we see actually in verse 55, these personalities are transcendental to the modes. In that sloka, Krishna says, Chaturvana maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagasha. So he's describing varnashram, and he says the work of a person, the duty of a person, that a person has to perform, that is born out of his guna. So that is a reference to the material guna, the three gunas, as you know, sattva, raja, and tama. So those that are strongly in sattva gun have a Brahminical tendency. Their tendency is towards spiritual knowledge, intellectual thought. Those that are in pashan, Ishwara Bhav is the result. They are of the Kshatriya mode, controlling mode. Those that are mixed passion and ignorance are the Vaishya class. So they are meant to be productive. Keshi, Gauraksha, looking after the land, protecting the cow, and Varnijam. They are meant to engage in trading the goods that are required. So, and then the Shudra in Tamagun, generally he is engaged in work in the three upper castes. So he is generally wanting to be told what to do, what to think, what to engage in. But even by performing his prescribed duties, he can become enlightened. The Vaishya can become enlightened. The Kshatriya can become enlightened. And the Brahminical person, he is in a very good position to become transcendental to these modes, as are the others. And in verse 55 of the previous chapter, there is a description of that transcendental person. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self," that means the Supreme Self and his own self, and the relationship between those two, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. So generally, people are trying to get satisfaction through their material senses, through the material mind, and this is a distraction from satisfaction in the Supreme Self. They are polar opposites, or they're completely different categories. Spirit and matter are different. Of course, now in Kali Yuga, people are thinking that the subtle energies, they are creation of matter. But actually, spirit is conscious, it is eternal. But the achit, unconscious, material energy, that is always in flux. But we are Jiva Shakti. So our real satisfaction is communion with the spiritual energy. But in ignorance of that relationship, which is dormant within the soul, people are trying to enjoy matter. And they're becoming entangled because they perform their duties, their activities, with attachment to the fruit. This is the point. But Krishna here is explaining that one should perform one's duties not motivated by enjoying the fruit, but one should perform one's duties as a duty. To put it more clearly, one should perform one's work that is natural to one's nature. One should perform that as a matter of duty, as an offering to the Supreme. As we said, the material consciousness is that we want to enjoy the fruit of our labor. So karma can be compared to a seed. You plant a seed, a plant grows, and then you enjoy the fruit. So karma, activities performed for sense enjoyment, for one's own satisfaction, the person is very much engaged in working so he can get that fruit. So then he becomes bound. And that means being bound to birth, death, old age, and disease, to remaining in the material energy, which is unsatisfactory, which is a suffering condition, because we are not material, we are eternal beings, and our real satisfaction is in relationship with the Supreme. So Krishna, he's already informed Arjuna. Arjuna's question was, I should give up work. If work is entangling, I should give up work. But Krishna says, no. You can continue your work, but don't be anxious or motivated for the fruit of your work. Perform your work as an offering to Vishnu. Yajnatat karmano, work must be performed as an offering to Vishnu, or else work will bind one to this world. So work offered to Vishnu is not performed with a view to greedily enjoy the result. Rather, the work is offered to Vishnu, and then the fruit or the result of the work will naturally come, because we're in the material energy. It's not that if I offer to Vishnu my activities, there'll be no result. but the result will be seen as the grace of Vishnu. And therefore, the consciousness becomes devotional rather than selfish. Instead of performing activities for the result, I perform activities as my duty, and I offer those activities to Krishna, and in this way I develop seva bhav, the attitude of service. In the material world, we are still serving, right? If we're lonely, sometimes we get a pet dog, and then we serve the dog. Take the dog for a walk, wait while it runs around, chasing a rabbit or something. We want to serve the children. We want to serve the wife. We want to serve the nation. We may serve some philosophy. So we are naturally servants, but we're serving for what we consider to be our benefit. For we're motivated ultimately, though we may be serving the family, the nation, the dog, but we are doing it, as we just read, through mental concoction. We're thinking that this will make me happy. If I have a wife and the children are happy, if I have a dog and the dog is happy, if I serve the nation, then I'll be happy. I will derive some benefit. But the relationship is temporary and it is not satisfactory. And it is full of stress. Everybody who has children will understand that children are very nice, they're very joyful beings, but also the parents are full of stress. Are the children healthy? Are they fed? Is the teacher in the school good? Are they safe in transport? People are always in anxiety in this material world. This world is kunta. It is the unnatural condition of the soul. The soul is meant to be free of anxiety. It is not meant to be laboring under mental concoction, under speculation. It is not meant to take satisfaction in just pleasing the senses and mind of the body. The real satisfaction is in our relationship with the Supreme Lord. And that is the self-realized soul. That is the Siddha Bhakta. So that personality is transcendental. This is the message Krishna is giving us. That personality who is taking satisfaction in his relationship to the Supreme Lord, that person is transcendental to the material modes. Varnashram is meant to discipline the material activities, the material tendencies, the material desires of the conditioned living entities. It is meant to give them an opportunity to develop service attitude by performing those activities as an offering to Vishnu. This is what Krishna has told Arjuna in the previous chapter, that you should perform your duty, but not considering profit or gain, loss or gain, fame or infamy, so on and so forth. You should perform your duty, Arjuna, as an offering to the Supreme. So that is the beginning of our relationship with the Supreme Lord. Because our relationship with the Supreme Lord is seva bhav. In the material world, everyone is serving themselves, their own desires, in forgetfulness of their relationship with the Supreme. But in the spiritual world, which is illustrated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, throughout the Bhagavatam, Everyone is serving the Supreme Lord in relationship to that Supreme Lord. That is called Swarup Siddhi. Huh? Like what is that verse? Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadakabanai Shravanadi Sudha Chitte Karide Udai. That Nitya, this Krishna Prem, this loving relationship towards the Supreme Lord is there, but it has to be awoken. It's sleeping. Just like within the seed, the tree is there, the flower is there, but it is not in full bloom, it is not blossoming. So we all are dormant spirit souls in this material world. We are all distracted from our relationship, from developing our relationship, because we're not serving the Supreme, which is the basis of our relationship. We're serving our own body, which we take to be the means of our satisfaction. We're serving our mind. So those people, as we just read those in the 55th verse of the second chapter, their satisfaction is within the Supreme Lord, in their relationship. That is their focus. In the material world, we're focused on the material energy. I want to control this situation and I want to enjoy this situation. Whereas in the spiritual energy, everybody is trying to give to the Supreme Lord, not be a manipulator and controller. And just like we see illustrated in the material world, the mother, Prabhupada often gives this example, is very much concerned with the satisfaction of the child. She wakes up in the night to feed the child, to satisfy the child. She doesn't consider the inconvenience of waking in the night. Her idea is the child satisfied? So on the spiritual platform, one is forgetful of one's own satisfaction. And that is perfectly safe, because in the spiritual platform, we are in the spiritual energy. We're not within this Vatkunta. We're not within this cycle of birth and death that we inevitably have to undergo. We are in our natural, eternal environment. So, how to attain that? So those persons who have attained that, they are the Mahabhagavats. So in Varnashram, yes, the basic categories is the Brahminical mentality, Kshatriya mentality, Vaishya mentality, and the Shudra mentality. But above that is the Mahabhagavat, the self-realized soul. And he is Siddhaswarup. He is situated within his Swarup, his relationship with Krishna. So he is disconnected from the material energy at all times. Just like at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, Queen Kunti says, "May my love and devotion always flow towards you, Krishna, just like the Ganga flows to the sea." And the description of Prahlad Maharaj, that his mind was always absorbed in the Supreme Lord, non-stop. He wasn't distracted by Maya. Sometimes, like we heard a few weeks ago, what's the balance between spiritual life and material life? Well, actually, there's not meant to be any balance. We're meant to have complete absorption in spiritual life, and that can be attained even within the material energy, on the basis of Seva Bhav, a loving reciprocation with the Supreme Lord. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam. So pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. So the central core of bhakti sadhana, of sadhana bhakti marg, is the cultivation of this favorable mood. Just like Maharaj, I heard him say in the previous class, anukulyena krishnanu shilanam, bhakti uttama. That this is the essence. It is just the favorable mood. And that is there, Nityasiddha, but karide udai. It has to be awoken by what? Shravanadi sudachitte. Shravanadi means by hearing, chanting, smaranam, padasevanam, archanam, vandanam, dasyam, sakyam, atmanivedanam. But we are vibhinangsa, we are jiva shakti, we are vibhinangsa, separated part and parcel. What does that vibhinangsa mean? We're not separated because we see Vasudeva Savamiti. The previous verse, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Matak Sarvam Pravatite. Krishna says, everything emanates from me. Everything is my energy. Krishna says, Mama Angsa Jiva. The living entity is my part and parcel. So somebody may say, well, how are we separated? What is the separation? The separation is that we are architects, we are controller, just in the same way that Krishna is controller, but we are controller of our focus, of our consciousness. This is the great gift of Krishna. We can sit down and drink water. Or we can sit down in hot season and drink a glass of water and put a tulsi leaf there. Or first, offer it to Krishna. But that is our choice. So we have to realize that in the material energy, we're very much carried along by our habits to enjoy the senses, to enjoy the tongue, belly, genital, the smell, the hearing, nice cloth, money, status, kind words. And we can be easily manipulated or carried along by the material energy. But if we have spiritual knowledge of our actual nature, of the actual quality of the spiritual world and the actual quality of the material world, then we can use our choice to our own benefit. If we think we have no choice, if we think we have just this material world, then we just become carried along in life. I've got to do my material work, I've got to look after the kids, I've got to satisfy the boss, I've got to run the business, I've got to watch the television, and we're carried along. Just like if you look at a dog in the road. If you look at a dog in the road, he smells one section, then he smells another section, then he walks 10 meters more, and he smells. He's been dragged here and there by his nose, right? He's not sitting down and thinking, I'm going to meditate. He is just carried by the senses. But in the human form of life, the living entity, the soul, can understand that I have a choice. Instead of focusing on the senses as my means of satisfaction, I must learn the art of satisfying the Supreme. So we've discussed this, right? The self-realized soul. He is above the modes. He is a different category from Varnashram. He is a Mahabhagavad. He is a Paramahamsa. Right? The Amala Paran, the second verse, Paramonim Charanam Satam. The second verse of Bhagavatam says that this scripture, which is meant for people in Kali Yuga, it is understandable by the Paramahamsa. So what is the Paramahamsa? The Paramahamsa is, Hamsa is the swan. So the swan can separate milk from water. It's in the lake, and you throw in the water, it can filter the milk. So the Paramahamsa is the person who is always in touch with the spiritual energy, even though he's in the material creation, because he sees this creation is a mixture of matter and spirit. And so how do we do that practically? If you remember the last few weeks, we'll just revise that. How to become fixed in that supreme. So the meditation is given at the beginning of the Brahma Samhita. The description of Golok Vrindavan, Radha and Krishna are situated within the whirl of a lotus. And those lotus petals are the abodes of the gopis. They're the abodes of the devotees. And this is surrounded by the Digpal and it's all described there. So, we have choice. That means we can control our own consciousness if we exert our desire. We are in the material world by desire. And we can go to the spiritual platform by desire. So Krishna says, Ye tam mam prapadyante tamsteva bhajamyaham. All of them, this is later on, as they surrender unto me, as they decide to surrender, as they choose to surrender to me, I reciprocate accordingly. So if we want the spiritual platform, the basic requirement is that we desire that. What is that verse? Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko yoda dadati kamam. Of all eternals, there is one supreme. Of all conscious beings, there is one supreme. And he is fulfilling the desire of all the other living entities, all the other conscious beings. So when Krishna sees that you want to enter into spiritual relationship, he arranges it. He fulfills that desire. But he gives the sadhana. He gives Vaidhi sadhana, Rag sadhana, Bhav sadhana, Prem sadhana. So we should learn the art of this, but the central theme is desire. And that is prayojan tattva, knowing the necessity, knowing the desire. So sadhu sangha, sava shastra hoy, lava mata sadhu sangha, sava siddhi hoy. Brahmanda pramate kona bhagavan jeev, Guru Krishna prasadi bhai, bhakti lata beach. Mahat sevam dora mahor vimuktes. It is by service to those Mahatmas, these liberated souls that are not acting through sense enjoyment, by their service, their sangha, their instruction, that we can very easily attain the spiritual platform. Just in the same way, if you have a good teacher, it's easy. If you want to learn a musical instrument, you need a teacher. So all the acharyas, they have given great commentary on the Gita, on the Bhagavatam. They have written great books, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavad, to give us a vision of the spiritual world. So that is smaranam. We can chant, but what is the content of our mind? So if you remember, we gave these ideas that are there later in the Gita. First, we should remove our focus from our material paraphernalia, our smartphone, our house, our sleeping bag, or whatever. Then we should remove our focus from the gross body, and we should focus within the mind. But then within the mind, we should focus not on the fleeting ideas of the mind, but we should focus on the consciousness through which the mental concoctions are filtered. But then within the consciousness, we should realize the soul. This is called atmastha. We should be self-situated. And then we should situate that soul, ourself, in the Brahman. Now I can not just situated within myself, but I'm situating myself within the effulgence of the Supreme Lord. So what is that Supreme Lord? He is Paramatma. He is the fully potent Creator. He is the fully potent Ishvara. And He is the fully potent Bhogi. He is the enjoyer of this creation. And beyond that Vishnu manifestation, there is Leelamaya Krishna. The darling of Mother Yashoda, the lover of the gopis, the consort of Radharani. So we withdraw our focus from this material energy, and we, with understanding and knowledge of the descriptions given in the Shastra and by the great acharyas, we create the spiritual world as a manasik murti. We install that murti within the heart, and then we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Now you might say, where's Lord Chaitanya in this? You are sitting and chanting, worshipping this vision of Krishna, Golok Krishna, Gokul Krishna. And we are all situated in the Kirtan party of Mahaprabhu. Right? Just like we see the pictures of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's dancing in ecstasy. Why? Because he is absorbed in the vision of the spiritual world. So this is the internal practice of Krishna consciousness. This is given in the Brahma Samhita by all the acharyas. And we chant not like a parrot, but we cultivate this loving mood. Again, this is our choice. We can see somebody, and if we're badly conditioned, I don't like that person. And we can speak badly. We can choose to do that. That is not a good person. Or we can have a loving vision. We can cultivate friendship with somebody. We meet somebody for the first time and we become empathetic. We talk nicely to them. So we cultivate loving mood towards Krishna out of our desire. And that is the beginning on the basis of Seva Bhav, and that is Buddhi Yoga. We read how the pure devotees relate to Krishna in a loving mode, and we try to adopt that mood. And that awakens our natural mood. And then we can become like here. We can become Siddhaswarup. We can become perfected devotee. Because by desire, we have chosen Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. So we have to have Siddhanta, And then we have to have choice, desire. And then success will come by the grace of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But the point is here, great devotees, they still act within the material energy as a good example. But some become avadutas, right? Some may just sit under the tree and do their bhajan. It is up to Krishna. Any question? Okay, we'll finish at this. Oh, one question. Yes, go ahead. Not everyone is Sudra. That means that the samskaras are not being performed. Everyone is having sex and having children. But still, there are some persons that are more inclined to goodness and some in passion. But that kaludra sambhavam, that means everyone, generally, it's a general statement that, you see, in the Vedic prescriptions, the Brahminical class, they would perform garbhadana samskar. They would perform yajna to attract a good child, because the consciousness of the mother and father, when they engage in union, will attract a certain soul. So in the Vedas, there is prescribed yajnas. So the Kshatriyas, they would perform yajnas. That's in the Mahabharata. So in the Shudra Sambhava, they're just having sex in an unregulated way. So that means Shudra Sambhava. But still, in Kali Yuga, there are those that are Brahminically inclined. But they may not be purified very much.
Janmana jayate shudra samskarat bhavet dvija. So by samskaras they become, by samskaras they become Brahminical.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the point. But not necessarily after birth, they can be done. So Srila Prabhupada, he instructed us that the grihastas, if they want to have a child, they should chant 50 rounds first. And then engage in union, in a purified consciousness. And then they will attract a spiritual soul. But so this is very important, because as you know, this knowledge is not known anywhere in the world, hardly, maybe in India and within the Hare Krishna movement. But according to the consciousness of the mother and father at the time of conception, a similar soul will be attracted. So if the mother and father are in low consciousness, intoxicated consciousness, violent, envious consciousness, then they will tend to attract a soul with those samskars. I've seen many devotees, they have very beautiful children, very nice children. And they say, yes, I was very careful. We had chanted 50 rounds, and we looked at the astrological charts. We took advice when is a good time to conceive a child. It's there in the Bhagavatam, right? The mother and father of was it Hiranyakashipu?
Hiranyakashipu.
Yeah.
Kashyap Muni and
Kashyap Muni and
Diti.
Aditi, yes.
Diti.
Diti was impelled by desire.
The timing was wrong.
Yes, and Kashyap, no, this is not the right time. But Diti, was Diti or Aditi?
Diti.
Diti, yes. Diti insisted. So, of course, this is Leela. We shouldn't think that this is disconnected to Krishna. But it is to illustrate the point. It was a bad time because Bhutanath, it was at dusk. One shouldn't conceive children during eclipse. One shouldn't conceive children at dusk or dawn at these times. But Kashyapa and Diti did so, and they got quite a soul.
Destroyer of the three worlds.
Yeah. And so Krishna in the first chapter, he says that if women become unprotected and whimsical and so on, then Vana Shankara will be born. So there's no accidents. The material energy is woven together.
Is there a statement, I heard that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he said that I would have had sex thousands of times if I would have known that devotees would be born. But
Yes.
there's no guarantee.
Yes.
And
well,
we can see that Advaita Acharya, not all of his sons
Yeah.
took up to,
Yeah. That's definitely, he did say that. I've heard that. He said, because he was Naistiki Brahmachari. And I think, I would have 100 children if I could have good children. So the great Brahmachari, he was saying, so in this section, Krishna says, I am sex life according to regulative principles. Now in Kali Yuga, in the man-made religions, they make sex into the devil. It's evil. And the mother of God was a virgin. So this condemns sex. That's ridiculous. Sex is an appetite, just like hunger. We want to eat. So generally people can't do without sex. So then they can have sex in a regulated marital environment. But then they should know, just like you regulate your eating, you offer your foodstuffs, so the sex life can be offered to the Supreme, and then you'll get good child. If you eat prasadam, you'll get good health, good consciousness. So if you have regulated, spiritualized sex life, there's no objection. Most of the devotees of Mahaprabhu, most of the people in the world, of course, are grihastas. So man-made religions in Kali Yuga, they tend to think sex is the devil or something, But that's stupid.
But even after thinking, the general society is going in the opposite direction. Do away with marriages, have children outside marriages, and don't take responsibility, have sex without taking responsibility.
Well, this is a very important point. The demons, you see, the more sex is removed from procreation, the more degrading it becomes. Just like in the natural world, the lioness comes into heat, the deer comes into heat, and then they have union. So you see in the natural world that animals generally have sex for children, to have lion cubs. But in the human society, in Kali Yuga, people are having sex without even wanting children, or they're ready to kill the children. So they go to hell. So sex life is for procreation. That is such an obvious statement. But now in Kali Yuga, like you say, the demons, they want to break down the family unit. Sex by artificial insemination, sex in this way, sex in this way. But sex for procreation is forgotten, almost. Right? But it will never completely be forgotten because it's the natural thing. the perverts are always a minority, thank God. So human beings are naturally want to have a wife and children. It's natural. So the demons, they don't want that. They want the family unit to be broken down. And everyone should serve the head Rakshasa, right? For his satisfaction. So they're promoting all these aberrant sexual behaviors. But people know it's wrong. People know it's wrong.
But you can see it's still proliferating, like in India.
Huh?
In India, live-in relationships are on the increase, even in a country like India. So especially in metros like Bombay, Chennai, Kolkata.
People are becoming disconnected from natural behavior because they are watching the television and the movies. And these movie stars and the television, they're often the most degraded people. But they're presented as the heroes to be followed, you see. But just like in this next verse it says, Janaka, he performed his duty to lead people. The real paradigms are a good wife, a good man and a good wife, and they should be faithful. In the Bhagavatam it says, the wife should see the body of the husband as a boat by which she can cross the material ocean. It's there in the Bhagavatam. And the same thing for the man, vice versa. He should cross the material ocean in the boat of his wife's body. They should combine together. And they should have regulated marriage. And then they go back to Godhead. Right? But the Rakshasas, they want to break the arrangement of the Supreme. You see, the Rakshasa, the envious demon, he wants to reverse the natural thing. You see. So they are promoting these activities through the media, through the movies, they're trying to seduce the young. Oh, this is the way to life. Why should a woman serve her husband when she can have a job? Then she has to serve her boss anyway. So people are misled because they're not fixed in spiritual knowledge, you see. You understand? Like if you have a boat and you don't have a rudder, you can be blown anywhere. So spiritual knowledge, you can control yourself in the material world, you see. You can know the Bhagavatam and you can know what's right and wrong. What pravittim cha, nivrittim cha, you see. So this is Kali Yuga. And this is the Rakshasa. Kali is the Rakshasa, black, and is dressed as a king, black-hearted, beating Dharma. But they will fail. They always fail. Ravana failed, Hiranyakashipu failed, Hiranyaksha failed, Duryodhana failed, but they cause disturbance. Because actually everything is under the control of Krishna, perfectly. Putana was killed. Krishna is Parameshwara. And we should take shelter of him, like Prahlad, like Dhruva. And then we are safe. Name bhakti pranashati. And so spiritual knowledge is essential because, like I say, if we're realized in the Shastra, if we're realized in the directions of the Gita, the Bhagavatam, then we have a moral standard. At the end of the Gita, what does Krishna say? Wherever there is Krishna, wherever there is Arjuna, who is Dhanurdhara, he's focused on the target. He's the archer. There is opulence, victory, morality, and auspiciousness. Victory. Nitir. Those four things are mentioned. So this is very important. Kali Yuga is the best of ages. Kalo dosha nidai rajan. Asti eka mahad gunan. Kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajat. Because the material world is so terrible. You can't even enjoy. It's so horrible. Everything is so gross, violent. Video games, movies, the newspapers, it's all disgusting. The music. Whatever happened to melody, subtlety? Yeah, so Kali Yuga is so disgusting, it's very easy to become renounced. Because it's terrible. Everything is so terrible. Meat eating everywhere. Drunkenness. Everyone has to take drugs. No place for a gentleman. That's what Srila Bhakti Siddhanta says. Eating meat, taking drugs, lying, no nobility. But in India, it's not so bad here. People still believe in the family, still love their children, still love the wife. That is the building block. So the Rakshasa, they want to destroy the family. Then people become weak. They want to spread atheism because then people are weak. If you believe in nothing, means you believe in anything. So this is Kali Yuga. Disgusting age. An ocean of fault. Manda sumanda mateo manda bhagya upadrita. So there is no enjoyment in Kali Yuga, even if you try. It's hard to go for a walk in the evening. You might be attacked and mugged. I was living in America, in Detroit, and the motor car ran out of petrol. And the American devotee I was with, he said, "This is very bad. We're in the wrong neighborhood. We may become attacked." It's worse than the African jungle. I was in Africa for 2 years. I was in the jungle many times. You feel very safe there. The lions see you and they say, another human. But in certain places in America, if you go out at night, so, Yes, children are going into schools and shooting everyone. They think it's a video game. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.